Hello, good evening, Fabiana. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher. Hi. Good evening.
Great. Hello, good evening. All right, so let's begin with today's practice. I don't know if you were able to watch the first part of the video, Fabiana. Do you have time to do it?
Yes, I see. Maybe I don't know how many minutes, but I see the first part of the video.
Okay, that's great. So it was advisable to watch only the first 1 minute and 40 seconds. If you watch more, it doesn't matter. But let's try to discuss about what you watched, Fabiana. Can you tell me what were you able to get in the part of the video that they watched, please?
Sorry. Yes, I see. Um, the this video talk about a history and that start um I don't remember the year, maybe 2000 before Christ. And I remember how it talk about trees and how um, these are important in in one culture. Maybe I don't remember very well, but I remember the composition, and in this video talk about how water and affect the composition of these different trees.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabiana. So let's try to discuss. I'm going to try to go now in detail. I think it's important to go to the first part again so that we have those details. And yes, you're right. Only one little detail. If you're talking about like experience or like when someone is telling you something, that's not going to be history, right? Because history is going to be with age, and that's a different word, right? That's going to be history is like an academic subject, right? Something that you see at university, and you may know about the Second World War, right? What happened to Germany and the United States and Russia, right? That's going to be history. But in this case, when we are talking about this like tale, what happened to some characters and so on, this is going to be only a story, right? So this is going to be the story of these two cities, right? So that's the first thing. Now, let's try to remember details about those stories, Fabiana, and I'm going to help you out. I'm going to go back and we're going to see the names of those two cities. And here we go, right? Uruk and Anuradhapura. These are two different cities. Now, here is very important the introduction because it's very important to understand what's the difference between Uruk and Anuradhapura. And I want to ask some questions. If we don't have the answer, it doesn't matter. We're going to try to watch again to be sure that we understand everything. In the first place, this is the first question, Fabiana. Do you remember what is the difference between these two cities in connection with the trees? What did the Uruk, all right, people did in comparison to the people in Anuradhapura related to trees? What do you say?
I don't remember very well, but I talk about irrigation. I don't know if it is the difference.
Okay, thank you. Yes, irrigation, but actually both cities have irrigation systems, right? And they say that the irrigation system, right, in Uruk and in Anuradhapura is the most important thing, right? And that's related to water. But here, actually, there's going to be one very important decision that is going to make a difference between Uruk and Anuradhapura. You were also talking about, right, the period of time, and you were right, all right? It's not that different. This is going to be like 3000 before Christ, right? And this is going to be like 500. So there's like 2500 years of difference between these two cities, but the main thing here is what's going to happen. So Let's try to listen once again. We're going to do it together, and I'm going to be asking you some questions in the meantime.
Destinies. In 3000 BC, Uruk was
Right, so it's 3000 BC, Uruk, and we're going to see what's happening in Uruk.
more densely populated than modern-day New York City. This crowded capital had to continually expand their irrigation system to feed its growing population.
All right, so it's what you were saying in Uruk, because of the growing population, right? They have to work on the irrigation system because they have to expand this irrigation system. They have to work on the land because there are more and more people, right? Growing and growing in the city. Let's keep going.
2,500 years later in Sri
Right, so 2,500 years later, we're going to talk about Anuradhapura.
Lanka, the city of Anuradhapura had a similar problem. They were also growing constantly, and like Uruk, their city relied heavily on an elaborate irrigation system.
Okay, good. So until that part. Now, from that part, it's very important because they are going to tell us the difference. So, like Uruk, the people, the population is growing. That's the big problem in both cities. Actually, and that's the main idea here, that people, all right, are growing at a fast pace. And the irrigation system is something very important, and they need to work on that. But actually, there's something related to irrigation systems that is going to be trees. Okay, the trees, because that's the main topic, and the main problem is the people growing. Now, from this part, we're going to listen to the difference, and then you're going to tell me that difference.
As Uruk grew, its farmers began chopping down trees to make space for more crops. In Anuradhapura, however, trees were sacred. Their city housed an offshoot of the Bodhi tree, under which Buddha himself was said to have attained enlightenment. Religious reverence slowed farmers' axes and even led the city to plant additional trees in urban parks.
All right, up to that part, after this specific section, they are going to talk about the results. But in this part, they talked about the difference. Do you remember, were you able to get here, Fabiana, what is the difference between Uruk and Anuradhapura in terms of the decisions that they made? What do you say?
In this last part, I understand how in one of these cities, for the problem or for solution this problem, the people cut trees, but in other city, the trees are important for these people, and maybe could be, I don't know how do you say sagrados,
Okay, sacred.
sacred, yes.
Okay, good. Yes, that's the main difference. You're right. Only one little correction over there. Instead of for solution, right, you're going to say to solve. And instead of solution, that is the noun, you're going to use the verb that is solve. Good. To solve that problem, right, to find a solution for that problem or to solve that problem, they decided to cut down, right? Not only cut, but cut down the trees, right? Chop down the trees. Correct. And it happened in Uruk. And in Anuradhapura, you're right. And I'm going to show you the word that you're asking. It's over here. And it must be here. Sacred, right? And they say that word. In Anuradhapura, however, trees were sacred. It means that they had, right, been protecting the trees at that time. That they even were not only protecting the trees, but they were also planting extra trees. So that's a very big difference. In Uruk, we're going to use this word cut or chop. They were chopping down trees to make more space for crops. Crops is what you do for agriculture, right? To grow your food and to eat, because there are more people and you need more food and you need more space for agriculture, for crops, and then you chop down the trees. But that's not a good decision. We're going to see how. However, here they are doing the opposite. right? Let's go to the next part to see the result. And again, I'm going to ask you about it, Fabiana. So over here.
Urban parks. Initially, Uruk's expansion worked well, but without trees to filter their water supply, Uruk's irrigation system became contaminated. Evaporating water left mineral deposits, which rendered the soil too salty for agriculture. Conversely, Anuradhapura's irrigation system was designed to work in concert with the surrounding forest. Their city eventually grew to more than twice Uruk's population, and today, Anuradhapura still cares for a tree planted over 2,000 years ago.
Okay, and there we can see the results, right, of those decisions. What can you tell me about that, Fabiana? What happened in Uruk and what happened in Anuradhapura because of those decisions?
First, in Uruk, they decided cut trees and expand the city, and um, when they don't have or didn't have trees, um, these these generate a lot of problems, and one of these was um, um, maybe have stopped the water, and these evaporate with the pass of time, and they didn't have more water, and the other city had the opposite and take care the trees, and uh, they have a lot of um, im- a lot of I don't im- importance maybe, or they have a lot of care for this.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabiana. Good, good. I think that was a great summary. We're going to look in detail or write some of the words now with the captions again. But yes, in Uruk, because of that decision, right, many problems appeared or showed up. You can talk about the irrigation system, how the water was evaporating, right? The soil, right, because of the minerals, due to the problem with the water, was not good for agriculture anymore. So little by little, they had a lot of problems, and the city, right, was a failure. However, right, contrary to that, we have Anuradhapura that because they were taking care of the trees, they were protecting the trees, right? They were caring for them. Because of that, the connection with irrigation systems and everything was working perfectly, right? There was a balance between all that. And even right nowadays, they say that they are taking care of this tree that is 2,000 years old. All right, and that's great. Now we're going to learn some vocabulary to finish the conversation, Fabiana, and perhaps not only learning, but being sure. So what is the first thing that was happening? That the irrigation system became contaminated, right? We were with simple past. At the time they decided to do that, it was good at the beginning, but later on, well, we had some problems. First is that the irrigation system became contaminated. Then I think that's going to be yes. That problem with the irrigation system being contaminated is going to produce that the water is evaporating, right? And it's leaving mineral deposits, okay? Mineral, like in Spanish. And deposits is like places in which the minerals are being left, all right? They are in the ground, or you're going to see a word for that one is soil, okay? So the water is evaporating, the minerals are left in the soil, and now because of those minerals, the soil is too salty, like salty. right? Also, it's similar to Spanish. If you cover those two words, those two letters, salt, right? Salty. And because being salty, you cannot use it for agriculture and you cannot grow food. And if you don't have food, well, the city is not going to be able to grow anymore, right? So that's what happens over there. If you have any questions, rendered is like changing, converting, right? It's like that. And here you have conversely. This is a word that you can use instead of however. Okay, conversely, however, on the opposite side. An order irrigation system was designed to work because they have a lot of trees in the forest and everything is working perfectly, right? In concert, in balance with the surrounding, right, forest. So everything was great over there and the population was growing and everything was great over there. And they said, right, even today in this city, they still care about this tree that was planted over 2000 years ago. So that's it. I want to know if you have questions about this part of the video or questions about some words, Fabiana. Let me know if you do, please.
No, teacher, I don't have questions.
Okay, good. Again, it was important to take a look at it again so that we have everything clear and we have those words. All right, remember, just as I'm sharing the poll with you, Vienna, please let's fill that out as always. Remember to be careful with the word solution, right? To solve something or it's a solution for a specific thing and those other details that I was mentioning. I'm going to be waiting for you tomorrow for the class. Have a great night and see you tomorrow, Fabiana.
Thanks, teacher. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Take care.